Ever wondered why zombies suddenly got fast, like terrifyingly fast? Well, we've got one movie to thank or blame for that. 28 Days Later didn't just shake up horror, it changed everything. Before this movie, we all had the zombie playbook memorized. Slow, stumbling corpses with an appetite for brains. Creepy? Sure, but not exactly surprising. That formula was getting tired. Then along came 28 Days Later. So, how did one low-budget British horror film change the rules for every zombie movie that came after it? Let's break it down. So here's the setup. A bike courier named Jim, played by a very fresh-faced Cillian Murphy, wakes up from a coma to absolute silence. London is empty, streets are abandoned. The kind of eerie, end-of-the-world quiet that immediately tells you something's very, very wrong. He wanders through this ghost town until he finds a church. But instead of answers, he finds something else, something worse. The infected. People twisted by rage, just standing there until they see him. And then they run. Jim barely escapes, rescued by two survivors, Selena and Mark, who've been hardened by the nightmare the UK has become. They tell him how fast things fell apart, how the virus spread like wildfire and civilization collapsed almost overnight. When Jim returns to his childhood home, hoping for some kind of comfort, he finds only heartbreak. His parents are gone, and after a sudden attack, Selena is forced to kill Mark without hesitation, because in this world, hesitation gets you killed. Jim and Selena eventually team up with Frank and his teenage daughter Hannah, who brings some much-needed warmth and hope to the story. Together, they leave the ruins of London, heading to Manchester in search of safety. But what they find with the military is far from a safe haven. There's a scene in a dark tunnel filled with rats running from something. You already know that's bad news. That sequence alone will have you gripping your seat. What makes 28 Days Later stand out is that Jim and Selena don't play the usual horror game of hide and wait. They move, they adapt, they survive. It's smart horror, characters making smart choices, which somehow makes it even scarier. And trust me, things are only going to get darker from here. Here's the thing. The infected in 28 Days Later aren't technically zombies. They don't die and come back. They're not looking to eat your brains. They're just regular people twisted by a lab-made virus that turns them into rage-fueled nightmares. No moaning, no limping, just full-speed sprinting with one goal: destroy everything in sight. And once they've found you, it's over. They scream, they swarm, and they bring more with them. For decades, we got used to slow-moving ghouls. You could walk faster than they could chase you. But 28 Days Later, it made zombies terrifying again. Suddenly, nowhere felt safe. Not the city, not the countryside, not even daylight. Now, to be fair, the idea of fast zombies wasn't brand new. Return of the Living Dead introduced running corpses back in the 80s, but that movie leaned into comedy. It was fun, even goofy at times. 28 Days Later is the exact opposite. It's deadly serious. Every encounter with the infected feels like life or death, because it is. And fans noticed. After the film hit, fast zombies were everywhere. We got Wreck, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, Planet Terror, and of course the follow-up, 28 Weeks Later. Even Romero came back with more zombie films, but his slow-moving Dead felt kind of outdated by then. Eventually, The Walking Dead came along and brought the slow zombie back into the mainstream. But by then, 28 Days Later had already changed the game. It proved that horror could evolve and that zombies didn't have to be dead to be absolutely terrifying. Let's be honest, without 28 Days Later, The Walking Dead might have never taken off the way it did. By the late 90s, zombie movies were on life support. The genre had kind of eaten itself alive, pun totally intended. Filmmakers were trying everything to keep it fresh. Horror comedies, over-the-top gore, even romantic zombie flicks. We got stuff like Army of Darkness, Brain Dead, Frankenhooker. Fun, yes, but zombies weren't scary anymore. They were a punchline. Then along came 28 Days Later. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland decided to ditch the laughs and go all in on something much darker. At a time when no one was asking for a serious zombie movie, they took a massive gamble, one that ended up reshaping the entire genre. They dropped the camp and leaned into raw, brutal realism. The result? A nightmare that actually felt like it could happen to you. This wasn't about ancient curses or radioactive space junk. It was about a virus, one mistake in a lab, and then everything falls apart. Boyle's vision was cold, bleak, and terrifyingly grounded. And it wasn't just the story, it was how the film looked. The choice to shoot on MiniDV instead of traditional film wasn't just practical, it made everything feel more real. That handheld, gritty footage of a deserted London, it hits like a gut punch, especially now because, let's be honest, we've seen those empty streets in real life. That iconic shot of Jim walking alone through central London, yeah, that image took on a whole new meaning during COVID. And ironically, it was real-world outbreaks like foot-and-mouth disease that inspired Garland to explore a pandemic setting in the first place. He wanted to ask, what if? And, well, we kind of got our answer, didn't we? What made 28 Days Later so terrifying wasn't just the fast zombies or the blood, it was the sheer plausibility. These weren't action heroes fighting monsters. These were regular people caught in a world spiraling out of control. No gimmicks, no jokes, just the chilling thought that this could be us.